Ooh, man, it's summertime. What does summertime make you think of? Blazing hot sun coming down on your forehead, sweating like a motherfucker? Homeless people pissing on the sidewalk? What? What, you ain't ever seen that? Oh, hell, whatever. But most importantly, people are out driving their sports cars and motorcycles around, joyriding and ripping up the road without a care in the world. Those noisy motherfuckers. Why am I telling you this? Well, I've decided in celebration of summer coming around once again, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to review some crappy movies. With a theme, though. It's Road Warrior Ripoff Week. Which means for 5 days straight, I'm going to put out 5 different videos reviewing 5 different movies of my choosing. I've been putting out movie-related videos for some years now, but I've never actually offered much input on my opinions, and since I have so much to say about movies and love talking about them with others, I figured, hey, why the hell not? So hopefully you enjoy and are having a great summer, and yeah. Alright, enough fucking around. Let's get into this. Alright, now as you may have already put together, Road Warrior Ripoff Week is going to focus on films that are heavily influenced by the futuristic, post-apocalyptic desert wasteland vibes of Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior, specifically. A very successful movie, but also very minimalist. You don't really need much in the way of sets or special effects to pull it off. Just vehicle chases and stunts in the desert. Well, we might as well start at the beginning with a film that was released in 1981, the exact same year as The Road Warrior. That film being Firebird, 2015 AD, a Canadian tax shelter film, which already has its place on my channel, as I've uploaded the entire movie with the transfer from the European DVD release I own. Now, you may call that copyright infringement or something, but as far as I can tell, the movie's public domain, or at least in some sort of rights limbo. I don't know. The copyrighted content logo does not appear next to the video in my uploads, so as far as I can tell, it's under fair use. It's about making an obscure movie available in higher quality than most of the VHS rips of it seen around the internet. It's also on my Internet Archive page, which is non-profit, and I'll link that below as well. But I'm getting off track. Enough bullshitting. Let's actually talk about the movie. Well, as I mentioned, it's a Canadian tax shelter movie. Now, what is that, you may ask? Well, roughly between 1974 and 1982, the federal government of Canada allowed private investors to deduct 100% of film investments from their taxable income. Meaning, if you were to shoot a low-budget or independent exploitation film in Canada during that time period, tax dollars would pay for the entirety of its production, which is fucking insane when you think about it. But this did not only help Canada become a stronger staple in the movie production industry and put them on the map for filmmakers, but also helped begin the careers of many famous directors, including David Cronenberg and Ivan Reitman. On the downside, though, it did also lead to a lot of lower-effort, underseen, and critically panned movies that were intended primarily for tax write-offs, and Firebird 2015 AD is primarily remembered as one of those. It was directed by a guy named David Robertson, and as far as I can tell, this is his only feature film as director. Although he was an assistant director on some other movies, like Return of the Living Dead and Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, and was the production manager for one of my favorite horror movies of all time, Black Christmas. It stars Darren McGavin and Doug McClure, who are clearly only here for a quick paycheck, and a cast of mostly Canadian actors like George Touliados and Mary Beth Rubens, who you may not know by name, but looking at them, you may recognize them from other Canadian exploitation films like Prom Night. The plot revolves around a dystopian future taking place in 2015, as the title suggests. Whoa, dude. The future. Which is now over a decade in the past. Fuck, man. For what I'd give to have it be 2015 again. In this timeline, however, the hilariously craptastic opening theme song explains how in the early 90s, the US government passed an edict banning the use of automobiles among private citizens because those greedy bastards realized the oil pits were running dry and they needed to hog all that shit for themselves. Now, as you can tell, the movie obviously didn't predict the future very well. However, if this movie did predict anything correctly, it's the corruptness of US politicians and rich bigots and how they seemingly don't care at all about the country's lower citizens. It's actually kind of uncanny. However, if there's one thing this movie could have never predicted, it was the concept of electric cars and how much those have caught on within more recent years. So at least there's an alternative now, even if it's not the most perfect substitute. Now, the movie's main focus is on a character named Red, played by Darren McGavin. He's an outlaw and part of a movement of renegades called Burners, who are people who drive cars illegally as a form of rebellion against the government. He's got a weird adult son who follows him around and shit, and speaks in an English accent half the time for some reason.
Yeah, well, you're still breaking the law. And you're wasting limited resources.
He's played by Robert Wisden, who's an English actor, so I guess there's your explanation as to why he sounds British half the time. Although this is his first acting role, so I can't be too harsh on the guy. As for Wisden himself, you may recognize him as the dad from the first Final Destination movie. He isn't very fond of his father for choosing the life of an outlaw, but Red hopes to make it up to him by taking him out for a joyride in his car, a 1980 Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. I like how they put helmets on. Like, yeah, that's not gonna help much if you're getting shot at by a fucking grenade launcher. Oh, and that reminds me, I haven't talked about the DVC yet. You see, the villains in this movie are a police task force called the DVC, Department of Vehicular Control, whose job it is to stop burners with lethal force if needed. There's this one guy, Dolan, a Native American officer, who's, well, let's just say a little off his rocker. He sits up in the hills and meditates while weird indigenous native battle cries howl in the background. Any burner he comes across, he just murders them without a second thought. We get a brief backstory on how he was once jumped and attacked by some joyriding hooligans, but it's never really expanded upon, and it's kind of worthless. You know, I don't know if I should address the elephant in the room here, but this is kind of a pretty racist caricature, all things considered. I mean, for early 80s standards, maybe this was more accepted, but I don't know. His character's a little bit insensitive. Who thought it was a good idea to give this guy a grenade launcher anyway? In fact, why are all the other officers equipped with this same exact military hardware? Do they really need fucking assault rifles and grenade launchers to stop a few dudes driving cars? Was there never such a thing as spike strips in this universe? I guess maybe if they were trying to stop some unhinged drivers in a semi-truck or industrial vehicle, that'd be pretty cool to see actually, but it never happens. These are just normal cars. Just blow out their tires and arrest them, for fuck's sake. Meanwhile, our boy Red meets up with his friend Indy.
Hello, Indy, you grizzled old bastard.
Indy? Okay. He's also a burner and has a daughter named Jill. Oh, well, now I see Cameron's got someone to hook up with. You might think I'm joking, but this girl speaks entirely in car innuendos.
This is the gear shift. Threw in more girls than picket fences. You step on the clutch. No. Now push it in and hold it. But slip it in. Nice and easy. First, second, third, fourth. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh.
Oh, that's just bad. In other news, Red and Indy go joyriding, and literally like 10 minutes of the movie are devoted to this scene. And apparently the filmmakers thought it was so epic that it needed its own theme song to accompany it.
I'm riding for my freedom. This Firebird ain't run out yet. We're gonna fly, they'll never shoot us down. We're riding.
And you're probably thinking, well, this can't be it, right? There's got to be more. Maybe a big action sequence or stunts are going to happen real soon, right? No. This is it. This is all you get. They do end up getting shot at by some DVC officers, but nothing that really warrants the scene as anything worthwhile.
Damn DVC.
Then we cut back to the DVC camp where this lady officer is showering with her clothes on. What the hell? What did they outlaw nudity in the future too? Oh look, it's Doug McClure. I forgot he's in this. And you know what? He may not be giving his A game here, but he definitely adds to the movie. Like, the movie's just a little bit better, just because he's in it. We learn that he's apparently childhood friends with Dolan here, and tells him he can't be killing burners without probable cause anymore.
You can't do that anymore, Doyle. What? Waste the driver.
Had to. The prick was gunning for me.
You know, you could just take his grenade launcher away. That would probably help a bit. Later we cut to Cam and Jill in a barn filled with cars where they decide to flirt some more. Like, we need more of that. Then they play a game of chicken to see who will take their clothes off first, I guess. And hey, there's some PG topless nudity right there. Wait a minute. You're telling me you can show that, but not the officer showering earlier? I'm sorry, but I'm still not over that. What the fuck even was that scene? Like, really? And if you didn't want to show her naked, I could understand that, but you could at least shoot it in a way that still implies that she's undressed. Like, maybe put a foreground object in the way, obscuring the camera's view so it looks like she's showering with her clothes off. You know, like a normal fucking person? Anyway, Cam and Jill end up screwing, and only to get cock-blocked by some nosy DVC officers that come rummaging around. What's going on with this guy? What are the DVC rapists too? And meanwhile, his partner here is just gonna watch it happen? I mean, maybe he's into that kind of shit, I don't know.
I just like to watch you guys.
Before things can get too steamy again, though, crazy Indian guy here puts a stop to it and takes Jill back to camp to be incarcerated. I'm kind of surprised he didn't just blow her up with the grenade launcher. Could you imagine that? In the meantime, Red and Indy are discussing how they're going to transport the senator to safety. Oh, the senator. How could I forget that subplot? So basically, there's a Texas state senator who wants to make cars legal again, but he needs to be transported to the airport and catch a flight to Washington so he can partake in a Senate meeting and a round of discussions on the issue. The problem is that the DVC don't want him to make the meeting and are desperate to stop him by any means, which is why the one dude got blown the fuck up earlier. So they're discussing the idea of setting up a decoy when Cameron walks in all beat to hell. He explains how the DVC abducted Jill and presumably the cuckoldry he just witnessed, and how that does it. The DVC's gotta be stopped, and they're gonna get Jill back, whether they like it or not. Then we cut back to camp where Doug tries to reconcile with Jill and tell her that he'll let her go if she gives him the location of Red's Firebird.
All you have to do is tell me where the Firebird is. That's all you have to do.
Well, that went about as well as you'd expect. Look at that face. What do you think he's thinking right now? He's probably thinking,
Oh, hi, I'm Doug McClure. You may remember me from other such exploitation films as Humanoids from the Deep and The House Where Evil Dwells.
Later on, Jill gets left alone in the tent with Dolan, and that's not a good idea because he saw that shit that was going on earlier and thought, yeah, let me get in on some of that. Thankfully, the other officers arrive before anything can happen. That's good. I really wasn't looking forward to this becoming a Native American version of Thriller, A Cruel Picture. Actually, that movie's pretty good, all things considered. Maybe it should just turn into that.
Get out. Get out!
Finally, the burners show up and rescue Jill. And if I'm being completely honest, this action sequence here actually isn't too bad. Just wish they hadn't waited until the last 10 minutes of the movie to have a cool action scene. We get some decent explosions and pyrotechnics, however the car stunts here still leave a lot to be desired. Compare this to the original Mad Max, which had a fraction of the budget of this, and the stunts here are night and day. But this is just pretty sad, all things considered. It's like they didn't have any stunt drivers that were willing to take too big a risk, so what you get is like the vehicular action you'd see at a local derby. Oh, and the crazy Indian psycho rapist gets killed. No, not him! He did nothing wrong. How dare you? You know, whether it's for better or for worse, I think this guy was probably the most memorable character in the movie. I mean, sure, his caricature is pretty insensitive, especially in this modern day, but years from now, looking back, he's probably the one character I'm going to remember the most. He's crazy and over the top in all the right proportions. His character works pretty well, actually, for a crazy exploitation picture, all things considered. If only he had been in a better movie. So that's it. Oh, and I guess the female DVC officer is on the burner's side now, I guess? Sure, whatever. After seeing her rapey co-workers, I guess I wouldn't blame her. So now Cam and Jill ride off into the sunset to pick up the senator, which the movie treats as if that means cars will definitely become legalized again, no questions asked. Well, what can I say about this movie? Despite an interesting premise of a future where oil is scarce and driving is outlawed, the movie doesn't really do a lot with said premise. I think the film could have really benefited from putting more of the main focus on the sci-fi action elements and showing us more of the rebellion against the government. But instead, most of its runtime is focused on driving cars around aimlessly and a love story that we really don't care about. For me personally, I would have really liked to see what more of this world was like, you know, like outside of this one desert valley the movie takes place in. Show us more of this world, expand upon it, but instead we get a broken down, aimless mess with a few actors that, while fun to watch, are clearly just phoning it in for a paycheck. It's not the worst dystopian movie I've ever seen, nor is it even the worst Canadian tax shelter film I've seen. I think it had so much more potential to be something, but it's ultimately just a letdown. Still, it's got some decent cinematography of the desert landscapes, and the movie's theme song is pretty catchy. But unless you're a die-hard fan of dystopian sci-fi movies, I'd say you could probably skip this one. I guess I'd give it 2 fully clothed shower scenes out of 5. Well, that's it for this video. Tune in tomorrow when we're going to be talking about New Zealand's answer to the Road Warrior, 1982's Battle Truck. I think we're definitely in for more of a treat that time. Well, until then, this is your host, Billy, and I'll see you in the next one.
We're riding for our freedom. This Firebird ain't bird out here. We're gonna fly, they'll never shoot us down. This Firebird ain't bird out here. We're gonna fly, they'll never shoot us down.
The other day, my good friend Salacious Crumb was talking to me, and he came to me with a great idea, and he said, "Donald, we should outlaw all automobiles to conserve the fuel for me, because frankly, Donald Trump is pog and awesome, and I deserve it more than anyone else, believe me." Yeah!